Hello, students. Good morning. So, how are you today? And I hope that you are doing well. So, our lesson for today, class, is all about translation of poetry. But before we proceed, I would like to have first an icebreaker.
What? Do you know what a language of poetry is? No. I'll tell you then. Okay. The language of poetry. Poetry meaning the writings of poem or any poetic aspect or quality. And poem uses figurative languages, may it be simile or onomatopoeia, and many more. It is multi-layered and highly ornated language. Although the poet can use ordinary language, but it won't sound as poetic as it is. And according to Kenneth Cock, yes, the language of poetry, where the sound of the words is raised to an important equal meaning with the importance of their grammar. And with that, Paul Valery said that poetic language is a language within a language. And if you are to translate a poetry, always mind the linguistic features of a poem first and foremost. Nice. So, how does the translator transmit not only the words but also the layers of meanings conveyed by the words of the original text or poem? They must keep in mind the literary and aesthetic elements of the poetry. Expound, explain, and elaborate the literary and aesthetic elements of the poetry then. Let's just watch the next presenter.
The literary and aesthetic elements of poetry. The literary and aesthetic elements in poetry are many. Literary and aesthetics in poetry go together because the literary elements are the structures used to create the aesthetic in the poem. Like the short story, poetry is crafted on two things. What is the story all about and how it is told? Literary devices are tools to make the telling more interesting and more aesthetically defined. These elements range from sound devices to rhythm, meter, to figure of speech, and others.
Hello guys, good day. Welcome to Know How Show. We will be using this platform, this interview, to learn something, to educate you. So, in this interview, we will be talking about the translation of poetry. Poetry, like any other form of discourse, since it uses language, sells a specific ideology, it carries one heavy weight called cultural load. The translator's responsibility is to see to it that this cultural load is not lost in the translation process. Everyone, without further ado, I'll introduce you our guest for the day, Miss Denise Jessica Perez. Let's give round of applause, everybody.
Okay, thank you so much, Miss Anne, for your warm welcome. I'm so grateful that I've been part of your show today.
We talked about cultural load earlier. So, Miss Denise, how do we deal with these concerns?
So yes, thank you for that question, Miss Anne. So actually, Miss Anne, no, there are 6 different ways to deal with these concerns, and these concerns are suggested by Mr. Peter Newmark. So these are the following. So first, we need to find the deep and underlying structures, meaning and language structures that lend themselves to the meaning. Second, we need to find logical subjects and find the specific verb. Third, we have reconstruct the structures. in the TL as closely as possible to the original text. Fourth, we need to analyze phrase or clause structures. Fifth, we need to maintain the structures to maintain the beauty of the poem. And last, we have always study the nouns and verbs in the context of both SL and TL.
Take a look at this poem by Joyce Kilmer's Trees, which was translated in Tagalog by Ulysses Virginia Espartero. Trees. I think that I shall never see a poem lovely as a tree whose hungry mouth is pressed against the sweet earth's flowing breast. Puno. Sa aking palagay ay hindi na ako makakakita pa ng tulang kaibig-ibig. Isang puno ang halimbawa, isang puno ang gutom na bungangay na kanganga sa walang humpay na pag-ilig ng dibdib ng aking patamis na lupa. Now, utilizing Newmark suggestions, let's try to examine how to translate poem in a step-by-step process. First, find the deep underlying structure. Try to understand or figure out what the poem's main message is. Second, find the logical subject and then find the specific verb. For example, press, nakanganga, looks, nakatanaw, lift, ibinabayaw, has lain, tumihaya, live, kaulayaw, are made, ginagawa, can make, makagagawa. So they are the specific verbs that appear in the poem. Third, reconstruct the structure in the TL as closely as possible to the original text. For example, summer, tag-init, magsusuot. As you can see, the poem's original words or phrases have been reconstructed but the meaning has not changed. Fourth, analyze phrase or clause structure. The word order of the original was followed in the translated lines. Fifth, maintain the structure to maintain the beauty of the poem. When translating, always stick to the poem's structure, but keep the poem's creativeness in mind. The majority of this is done in free verse. Lastly, always study nouns or carrier of concepts and verbs carrier of concepts through actions in the content of both FL and TL. For example, summer, tag-init, full, tanga, who intimately lives with rain. Sa buhos ng ulan ay magkarayamang makikipagtalik. So those are the step-by-step process using Newmark suggestions. I hope you learned about this video and thank you for watching.